Hello everybody, welcome to Rajalakshmi's Concept Clear classes. Today in this video we will discuss about wind pollination. Before we start the topic, I request you to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to get the notification of all my upcoming videos. Let's start the topic. So today's topic is wind pollination, or it is known as anemophily. Wind pollination is the transfer of pollen grain to the stigma by wind. So, it is the transfer of pollen grains to the stigma of the flower of another plant by wind. So here wind is the agent of pollination, and the flowers showing the wind pollination are known as anemophilous flower. These anemophilous flowers have some adaptation so that wind pollination can be done properly. We will see what are the adaptation of these wind pollinated flowers or anemophilous flowers. The first adaptation of these wind pollinated flowers are the flowers are small, then colorless, odorless, and also nectarless. So, as these flowers are wind pollinated, these flowers are small, colorless, odorless and nectarless, because the large size of the flower, then bright color, odor and the nectars are required for the living pollinators like insects, birds, etc. So, as it is wind pollinated, the flowers are small, colorless, odorless and also nectarless. The second adaptation is the calyx and corolla of the flower are either reduced or absent. So, in these flowers, the calyx and corolla, which are known as accessory whorls, are either absent or reduced, so that the stamens and carpels are well exposed to air or wind. Then the third adaptation is these flowers have versatile stamens. In case of versatile stamens, generally the anthers are long and it is attached to the filament by a point. Suppose this is the filament and this is the anther. So, in case of versatile stamen, the anthers are very long and it is attached to the filament by a point, so that it can swing freely in the air. So, it can swing freely in the air. So, it is an adaptation for wind pollination. Next adaptation. These anemophilous flowers produce huge amount of pollen grains. For example, the plant canabis produce about 5 lakh of pollen grains. As it is wind pollinated, so it is a chance factor for the pollen grains to reach the right type of stigma. That means most of the pollen grains are wasted in wind pollination. So, these plants produce huge amount of pollen grains, so that some of the pollen grains may reach the right type of stigma. Then another adaptation is the pollen grains are small, dry, then lightweight, then dusty, and sometimes winged. So, as these pollen grains are to be pollinated by wind, they are generally small and dry, lightweight and dust-like, and sometimes winged. Winged means in some plants the pollen grains have two balloon-like, suppose this is the pollen grain, two balloon-like wings. For example, pinus. In case of pinus tree, the pollen grains are provided with two wings. So, it facilitates the pollination of these pollen grains to a long distance. Then next adaptation, is the flowers are well exposed. That means generally these flowers are born at the terminal position of the plant and above the all leaves or foliage. Suppose this is the plant, these are the leaves, and generally the flowers are born at the top position or at the terminal position. So these are well exposed to air or wind. So by this the wind pollination can occur easily. So flowers are well exposed or are present on the top of the plant or terminal position of the plant. Then another adaptation is in some plants like Ortiga, the anthers burst suddenly to throw the pollen grains to air. So in some plants the anthers burst suddenly so that it throw all the pollen grains to the air, which is easily carried by wind. Another adaptation, the stigmas of these flowers are large, sticky, hairy, then sometimes feathery, feather-like, or sometimes branched to catch the pollen grains. So in these flowers the stigmas are generally large and sticky, hairy or feather-like or branched to catch the pollen grains easily. So these are the adaptation of anemophilous flower or wind pollinated flowers. The examples of these wind pollinated flowers are the examples of these wind pollinated plants are grasses, then sugarcane, maize, bamboo, then coconut, coconut palm and date palm, etc. All these plants have wind pollinated flowers. So this is all about wind pollination. If you like my video, please like, share and subscribe. And don't forget to give feedback in the comment section. Thank you.